The college football experience week 7 DFS slate for Friday, Saturday morning, and Saturday night episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog has just added Pick'em Scorchers, where you can win 100 times the amount of money you enter. That's right, folks. Turn $5 into $500 in just one game. Plus, every Sunday they're giving away $100,000. Use the promo code SGPN and Underdog Fantasy for 100% deposit bonus up to $500. We're also brought to you by Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code SGP at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and use that promo code SGP. We're also brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com. Use that promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month and start making smarter bets today, people. And finally, we're giving away $3,000 in our NFL Second Chance Survivor contest, which is presented by Corey Pinkston and Barking Dog Properties. Free to enter. Just go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/survivor. Once again, that's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/survivor.
This is Mike Leach, head football coach at Mississippi State, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
DFS show for tonight, Friday night. Also Saturday night. You know, we got you covered here. We were planning to do this episode yesterday, and we ran into a scheduling conflict. And yeah, so hopefully you still played DFS with us, but yeah, it didn't happen. And
better late than never.
We are. Yes, better late than ever. We got tonight's slate loaded up for you. We got tomorrow morning and tomorrow night slate loaded up for you. We got the chat rocking. Shout out to Chad G. But first, I mean, so last night we did have, 3 college football games. Shout out to the FCS game that I know College Football Campus Tour was at. Folks, give them a follow if you didn't already know. But yeah, I mean, we had craziness and terribleness all at the same time. And first and foremost, we had the Mike Leach introduction to the podcast, and Mike Leach, part of his coaching tree, has Neil Brown and Dana Holgerson on that tree. Holgerson played wide receiver for Mike Leach at Iowa Wesleyan a long time ago. But we had the Holgerson Bowl in Houston, Texas, and I know, that game, unbelievable. That was that might be the best game of the season thus far, considering just what the hell actually happened in that game. Back and forth, you had just the Houston special teams.
42 fourth quarter points. Combined 42 fourth quarter points, similar to that UNC App State game last year.
Oh yeah,
the fourth quarter. The fourth quarter is just back and forth. It's just crazy.
Yeah, and I'll shout out Brendan Leary, fan of the show that I met in Houston, Texas. The from the trip when I went to Texas A&M. He's a LSU and Houston fan, and he resides in Houston after moving from Baton Rouge. And I know he was at the game, saying one of the greatest games he was ever at. So
Houston, have you checked on our, TCE West Virginia fans? Have you checked on them? Are they doing okay?
I had to do a Big West Conference preview college basketball last night.
How was Moneyline Max energy?
He was hurt, but he also thought, and I know he got a lot of flack on Twitter with this, was Dub V fans disagree with him. He said, at the end of the day, Houston outplayed him. I would agree. If you have a double-digit lead with 5 minutes left, you probably don't deserve to win if you're the team losing. But Neil Brown rallied. They did have over 100 yards in penalties. West Virginia did,
including the big one on that touchdown celebration that gave Houston pretty good field position to throw that Hail Mary.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a true bummer if you're Dub V, because you look at that remaining schedule and you say, man, we could be in Arlington at the end of the year. I mean, you're going to be favored in pretty much every game except the Oklahoma game, maybe the UCF game. And had they won this one where they had the lead with 12 seconds left, it would have been very interesting to see. Now it's still possible. Shouldn't just, say the season's over because you still play, Oklahoma. And I don't think there's that big of a gap between Oklahoma and West Virginia. So,
well, there's still 3 road trips within the Big 12 left on their schedule. And I don't want to throw shade at West Virginia because they're having a very good season so far. They're better than a lot of people expected. Their win total was only 4.5. If they won last night, they would have been over on their win total already. But were they really good enough to run the table? Even if the schedule isn't, too bad, I would say no. I would say they're going to slip up a couple more times.
They didn't need to run. I mean, now they need to run the table.
Yeah.
Like then, in my opinion, they could have lost the Oklahoma game and still been in there. And the question you ask yourself then is, were they good enough to take care of business at home? I think they were good enough to take care of business at home. I think the big question mark would have came down to the 2 other road games at UCF and then in the final game of the year at Baylor, where I kind of suspect they're going to have an interim head coach. So I think it would have came down to that UCF game.
I still think that all 6 games left on their schedule are kind of 50-50 games. So I don't think they're going to go 5-1. I think 4-2, and I think you're really happy to have an 8-4 season. Who expected an 8-4 season from West Virginia this year?
I did think they were a lot better. No, I mean,
I was certainly on the over 4.5.
Yeah,
but
I thought they were a lot better than. Yeah, fair. So here's what's crazy too, though, is Holgorsen could have saved his job by this play. So I think there was a high chance that he's getting himself fired. Maybe, they get their first ever Big 12 win on a Hail Mary. You gotta love this if you're Houston, but at the same time, if you're a Houston fan and if you want new coaching blood, this is actually terrible for you in a way. Either way, phenomenal game. And you
know how you really solidify your job? Next week.
Yeah. No, I think they get Texas next week, right?
They got Texas coming into Houston.
That's
any
how you
chance?
Yeah. Sure. I mean, Holgorsen, I think when he was at West Virginia, had a knack for fucking with Texas.
Yeah.
So maybe he can continue that. I don't know. I know that the game's sold out there in Houston. I'm still curious to see if it will be. Is it sold out with Texas fans or is it sold out with Houston Cougar fans?
I imagine there's going to be some burnt orange in the crowd, but you would hope that it's mostly Houston fans.
Yeah. And then, so then you have that going on where Holgorsen survives, giving up, 20 some points in the 4th and, getting just a classic win. And you could argue this is karma. Holgorsen felt disrespected. He felt like the fans and the, administration at Dub V didn't fully, they didn't give him that extension.
It was personal. It was personal for him.
Yeah. So it feels like maybe the football gods were on the side of, Roy Munson 2.0 there. Then you have the East Carolina SMU game where Mike Houston, to me, year 5 of Mike Houston, you got no excuse to be this bad. The quarterback play is awful. The reason why ECU lost that game was 14-10. They threw a pick 6. And that kind of everything went terrible from there. But that's been the story all year. He keeps going back and forth. Another thing I hate is going back and forth between the quarterbacks. I think they should fire Mike Houston. I think they should be talking. Speaking of West Virginia, I think they should be talking to Rich Rodriguez.
If you look at their losses this year, at least 3 of them. Yeah, just the one to Michigan. Okay, you weren't expected to win that, but the Marshall game,
Fourth quarter lead,
complete collapse late. The App State game, they were up at halftime. Another second half collapse. The Rice game, that was kind of back and forth, but again, SMU scores. They 17-0 in the fourth quarter to pull away and win. So I don't know if it's depth is a problem. I know ECU's been rated in the portal, and you haven't been happy with Houston bringing in talent via the portal. So something's going on there where they're just having complete collapses in the second half, and that's why the record's 1-5 right now.
Well, yeah, and look, I mean, everything. He doesn't really use the portal. Like, I mean, yes, he brings in guys, but like to me, we get hit more than we ever get. And if you watch that Houston game last night, Malik Feaster, who had a big time punt return a couple times, I feel like in that game for Houston, starting corner, he was from ECU last year. So watching both games at the same time, you sit there and say, man, and you can't have this in year 5. You can go out and get a better quarterback. You're trusting your system. Your system, I've watched now 6 weeks, and it sucks. You know what I mean? Like there's opportunity to go get decent quarterback play out there. I refuse to believe. I mean, look, even like App State's Aguilar that came from a JUCO ranks in California is better than what the ECU quarterback situation is. And there's other opportunities out there. You got a starting job in the AAC. You look around at some of the
could have got JT Daniels.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, you look a lot. I would have taken that by far. You look at some of the other group of 5 quarterbacks. And you see transfers, whether it's Wyoming's Andrew Peasley, whether it's, you can Fresno's Mikey Keene. Why couldn't that be you? Because you're not, you don't really buy that much into the transfer portal, in my opinion. And they should pick up the phone. They should call Rich Rodriguez. They should call, a slew of other coaches, see if they're interested.
Well, you got Biff Poggi and the Charlotte Clits coming into Greenville next week. You don't want to get, knocked down a peg by Charlotte and have Charlotte as being the better team in the American in the state of North Carolina. That might seal his fate if ECU loses next week.
Yeah. I mean, and I kind of think it's like a 50-50 game, to tell you the truth. Like I with that offense, I mean, there is no way he's going to a bowl this year with Charlotte, then at UTSA. Like, he had to win the Rice game or the Marshall game if you wanted to go bowling. They have Charlotte. To me, the only winnable games left are Charlotte, Florida Atlantic, Navy, Tulsa. That would be 5 wins at best. And I don't even think they're good enough to run the table there.
Oh, of course not. I mean, so yeah. I didn't watch any of this game last night. How was the crowd? Was the crowd
no?
See, so that's a sign there.
I mean, the crowd, like the student section showed up, but I don't know. It seemed like they trickled out pretty fast. But
ECU has great fans. Just give them something to cheer for. And if the fans didn't show up, that's a sign that the team is lost and there's just no excitement around the program, and that therefore you probably need a change.
Yeah. All you got to do is type in Mike Houston, and all you see is ECU fans on Twitter saying, "Fire Mike Houston, fire him. How the hell has he still got a job?" Shout out to the chat. Jay Scott. Appreciate you listening, Jay Scott. He's at work. Jay Scott's son, running back for Lindenwood in the FCS. Shout out to that.
Nice.
Yeah, there we go. All right, let's get to the DFS slate. Folks, before we do that, I want to tell you that the College Football Experience Week 7 DFS show for Friday and Saturday is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Yes. Look, Underdog has just introduced Scorchers. Go 5 for 5 and pick 'em Scorchers and enjoy a spicy 100 times payout. And for a limited time, Underdog is extending their first deposit bonus up to $500. $100,000 will be given away every single Sunday too. Yeah, 10 lucky players will get $10,000 each. An Underdog I like. Tomorrow is BYU. I think me and NC Nick both like BYU.
Yes.
So, what are you doing, folks? Watch along, make your picks, and maybe make a little extra cash on Underdog's mobile app or website, underdogfantasy.com. When you sign up with the promo code SGPN, Underdog will double your first deposit up to $500. That's Underdog Fantasy promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Manscaped, who has taken a step up from old Halloween to bring you and your face the cleanest shave it's ever seen. I needed to use it. I got stubble. All right. So this season, no need to toil and trouble. Manscaped's got the all new Handyman. It's the best way to get rid of that stubble. Featuring a compact design and next gen skin safe technology, the Handyman was designed to give you that smooth finish without the mess of a traditional shave. Get the sweetest treat this Halloween season by going to manscaped.com and use that promo code SGP for 20% off plus free shipping. Once again, 20% off plus free shipping. Promo code SGP at manscaped.com for a sweet as look as for a look as sweet as candy. Get yourself the Handyman from Manscaped. All right. We are back on the College Football Experience DFS show.
Let's quickly recap the last 3 nights since we last spoke on Monday when we did a DFS portion. So Tuesday night, AKA Badger wins. I came in second. I edged you out in our side bet between App State receivers who both did jack shit, but Caden Robinson had 3 fantasy points. Christian Horn only 2.5. Wednesday night, Beaver 54 wins. Again, I come in second. Always a bridesmaid, never a bride. But I won the side bet again. Eric Rivers, this was the battle of FIU receivers. Eric Rivers went 3 for 45, and you had Bracy who went 2 for 24. And then last night, Trash Man 79 wins, and our guy again, B Fur 54 came in second. All right, moving forward.
That FIU game, when I turned it on in the first quarter, they were down 21-0.
Yeah.
And UTEP was like inside the 30. I don't even know how they didn't get points on that drive, but I'm just sitting there like, what the hell is happening here? All right. So we got 3 games tonight. All 3 kind of entertaining games. Tulane at Memphis, a gigantic game in the AAC.
Over under 55.
I mean, major implications. Potentially, you could see this as a rematch in the AAC championship.
For sure.
Mississippi River football is back, as Patty C says. Then you have the Fresno State at Utah State game. Remember, though, Mikey Keene seems like he's not going to play.
He's not playing.
Yeah.
Over under 55.5.
And then you have Stanford heading to Boulder, Colorado for perhaps the final time as the Pac-12 comes to a crashing, burning end this season.
The highest over under of 59 in that game.
Yeah. So, did you roster 2 quarterbacks?
I did, and you did too.
Mm-hmm.
I went with our guy, Patty C's man crush, Michael Pratt, Tulane.
Goldilocks.
7.8K.
Yes.
Surprisingly, I maybe not surprisingly, not the most expensive quarterback because Shadur Sanders is the most expensive at 9,500, but I don't think there's that much of a difference. What is that, like 1.7K? I think you have to go Pratt here. I know if you listen to our Wednesday night pick show, we're both high on Tulane. Actually, no, this is Friday night. So this would have been our Monday night pick show. We're both high on Tulane, and if you're high on Tulane, you have to expect a big game from Pratt.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, especially like the Memphis defense seems to me to be an area that they can exploit. It's interesting. Memphis's schedule, Memphis's defense playing better than I thought coming into the year, but then you kind of look at who's been on the schedule. Arkansas State, before they made the switch to the freshman quarterback who's been lighting it up for the Red Wolves. They still had JT Shrout for that game, who sucks. And then they had Bethune-Cookman, and Bethune is just a really bad FCS. And then Taylon Green and Boise they blew a 17-point lead, but you know, they're not efficient as a passing team. Now Missouri is, and Missouri won. That's their one loss. Now we'll see if Michael Pratt can take advantage of that as well, because I think he might be able to.
I expect Tulane to be in the 30s. I mean, Boise was in the 30s. Missouri was in the 30s. Even Navy put up 24 on them. So I think the Memphis defense is decent, but I expect a big game from Pratt. So you did not roster Shadur Sanders?
Nope.
Too expensive. Your boy, your team.
Yeah, I know. But my thing is also, I mean, it makes sense to roster him if you wanted to, but I just think there's a lot of value in the quarterbacks on the Friday slate.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to be one of those like shootout games like the TCU game or the USC game. I think this one is going to be a little bit lower scoring than that. I don't think Stanford wants that kind of pace. So
Yeah.
I think he's just too expensive in this slate. Who's your second guy?
I'm taking you to Maverick Stadium, Logan, Utah, where all of a sudden Cooper Lagasse is balling.
Play the music, man.
Yeah. Steve Young 2.0. Look, if
now,
what's that?
Remember last time we rostered him, what he did?
Yeah, it was against Air Force.
Negative fantasy points before getting benched.
I mean, they clearly pulled the strings on him too early, because once the other quarterback got injured against UConn, he comes in.
Yeah.
And you could argue that he's the reason why this team are kind of the cardiac Aggies.
Well, hey, sometimes getting benched is like the slap in the face to wake you up and say, hey, I need to play better ball. And ever since he got his second chance after Hillstead went down with the injury, he has been playing better ball. They're at home. I expect a pretty good game. And the guy's dirt cheap, 5.3K.
Yeah, gotta love that. He's dual threat too. This guy runs a lot. Yeah. So I like that play. Okay, well, running backs. I only went with 2 running backs, which I don't traditionally do. How about yourself?
Only 2 here as well. I wonder how many similarities we're going to have here. Did you roster the most expensive running back?
I don't think so.
Blake Watson?
Nope. The Old Dominion transfer? No, I did not.
Blake Watson has been absolutely crushing it this year. I mean, not to mention what he's done on the ground, but how about in the air? The guy has 26 catches for 233 yards and a touchdown already. There's been games where he's had 9 catches, a game with 6 catches. The Memphis offense, it runs on Blake Watson. Yeah, so through the air or on the ground, he's just going to get a ton of touches.
I mean, look. I spent all my money, so he's just not available for me. But it makes sense. ODU transfer has been a stud this season. I kind of like the Tulane defensive line, though, man.
I still expect this game to go over 55. I expect like a 34-27 type victory for Tulane. So I think Memphis is going to do they're going to get some offensively. And like I said, if that D line is stopping the run, well, then they're going to start throwing screen passes to him.
All right, let's go. Okay, well, my top running back, I'm taking you to the other side of that game, where Mekhi Hughes
played the music again. I'm with you there.
Green Wave running back. All right. I think the Tulane Green Wave.
It's easy to see a tide turn.
Are going to get it done. So I know he splits time with Clayton Johnson, the Colorado transfer, but at the same time, Hughes is their established guy. 5.1 yards a carry, 72 rushes, 3 touchdowns.
I think he's pretty much taken over that backfield. Last game, he went 22 for 123, 2 touchdowns. Clayton Johnson only got 2 carries that game. So what was more of an even split to begin the year, I think Hughes has pulled away.
Yeah. Then, so my second running back then, keeping it in the family here, EJ Smith for the Stanford Cardinal. Do I worry about the they split time? All right, but Stanford's gonna have a tough season this year. I think everyone knows that. Troy Taylor, their head coach, he knows that. EJ Smith is a veteran. You know who EJ Smith's dad played with?
Well,
Deion
first off,
Sanders.
his dad is Emmitt Smith.
Yes. He played with Deion Sanders. Now I know Casey Filkins also gets the rock. They both average 6.4 yards a carry. Filkins has 6 more rushes on the season. But I think in a game where you're trying to find, a little bit of an edge, I think playing against old Pop's teammate, nationally televised, EJ Smith, 5th-year senior, could have transferred, came back. I think they're going to give him the ball a little more than normal. So, and he's good. He is good. I mean, 6.4 yards a rush is good.
I was kind of surprised he's not getting more touches this year. You know, before he got hurt last year, he had a really good game against Colgate and then also played well against USC. So I thought coming into this year, I don't know if it's the injury or if it's a new coaching staff and they're just dividing up carries. I thought he should have been the lead running back for Stanford. So I've been kind of disappointed with the lack of touches this year for him, which is why I didn't roster him. But I do think there's talent there.
Well, and you don't see my angle of, he could have grad transferred. Everyone else grad transferred. He came back. I think they reward him here. Nationally televised game for NFL scouts to see against primetime. His dad's teammate and friend. So
could be.
All right. Who's your second running back?
So I already mentioned both mine. It was Hughes and Watson. So I'll jump into my top receiver, and it's the only person I have in the Stanford Colorado game. I think you have to get pieces of the Colorado passing attack. So I went with their most expensive receiver, Xavier Weaver, 6.9K.
Well, I got him as well. I got to get my Buffs wideouts. All right. Are we at all worried that Travis Hunter is playing?
I think he can still. Weaver can still get his. I think Weaver is their wide receiver one anyway. Do you like Weaver better than Horn?
I rostered both. I actually, Jimmy Horn is my second wideout. I actually like Horn better. Yeah. As far as as a Colorado fan, I mean, Weaver's good. Both are good. They were both at South Florida last year, but Horn's a little more of a home run threat to me.
I wasn't sure which one to go with. Obviously, I had the money for either one, so I just kind of went with Weaver. I think he has more catches on the year.
Yeah, he's a little more of the possession receiver. Yeah. But I rostered both, and I think both are going to tear it up and go Buffs, baby.
All right. Well, my second highest receiver. This is going to be my stack with Cooper Lagasse, and that's Jalen Royals, the Utah State receiver, for an even 6K. And all you have to do is look at his production the last two games: 7 for 185 and 3 touchdowns, 6 for 140 and 2 touchdowns. I'll take a piece of that.
That makes a lot of sense. So here's the question you got to ask yourself for one of your. I obviously have 2 more wideouts, but Colorado's defense has given up a lot of points. So do you search for a wideout with Stanford, which I didn't do, but I'm considering as we do this show, or do you search for one in the Mountain West? I'll tell you essentially what I did here was I put Terrell Vaughn on here, who's just a stud at Utah State. So he's my next highest price wideout at 7K. If you haven't watched Utah State over the past 2 years, this guy's a stud. So this one makes sense. Even with Lagasse back, I like it more because there's more of a connection and more of a history of them being good. Did you roster Terrell Vaughn at all?
No, I didn't. I didn't have the money for him, so I went with the cheaper Utah State receiver, who's basically putting up the same stats, at least the last couple games, which also coincides with the games that Lagasse has come back and played in. So I'm getting my Utah State receiver, who doesn't have as much of a productive track record as yours, but he's been just as good the last couple weeks. I'm getting him for a cheaper price at only 5.6K. I'm sorry, that's 6K, and even 6K.
Yeah, so $1,000 cheaper.
Right. My next receiver is 5.6K, and I do think there's an angle taking somebody on Stanford, but ultimately I didn't feel comfortable with that passing attack or any of the receivers. So I leaned more towards the Mountain West game or the Tulane Memphis game to get other guys. And at 5.6K, I went Rock Taylor, Memphis's wide receiver one. This guy for only 5.6K, again, the last couple of games, 7 for 143, 5 for 102, and a touchdown. You're getting a wide receiver one for a pretty good price there.
Okay, that makes sense. But let me ask you about, so if you go back to, so we know Logan Fife is going to be starting for Fresno State, right?
Yeah.
If you go back last season, he got a few starts. Now he had some, Hainer got injured in that USC game. He came in, he actually looked good in the USC game. But then after that, he struggled at Boise and at UConn. but then his final 2 starts where they got wins, he looked good against San Jose State with a solid performance, completing 75% of his passes, 24 of 32. And then same with New Mexico. So the question is, back for yet another season, is there value in taking perhaps a Fresno State wideout?
I think
even with
there's always value in a Fresno State wideout with Jeff Tedford as the head coach. The reason why I didn't roster one of their most expensive guys like Brooks or Gill was because Mikey Keene's not in there. But I did roster at 5.5K Jalen Moss, who's their wide receiver 3, because I still wanted pieces of the Fresno game. I just wasn't willing to spend up for it. So falling back to this guy who's also been pretty damn productive too. 9? He's had 2 games this year where he's really shown up. 9 for 115 and a touchdown, 7 for 120 and a touchdown. So this allows me to get part of that passing game for more of a bargain bin price, just in case it's not as good as it was with Keene.
Yeah. Well, I loaded up on Jalen Gill. Wasn't he a Boston College transfer? I think he was. Yeah. I mean, I understand he doesn't have the continuity perhaps from last season as some of the other wideouts that were at Fresno with Fife, but still, I mean, this is a guy just 2 weeks ago against Nevada had 8 for 126 and 2 touchdowns. So I will take a shot on him. He's also got 5 touchdowns on the season. Really, I mean, he didn't play that much in the Kent State game because they were up by so much. So I think that's my roster. It's my final. I think Fresno's still gonna be able to move the ball. I think we both like Fresno laying the points, even though it's climbing some. Well, no, actually it's dropping some. It's only 5.5 now. So even with, I guess you could argue there's backups on both sides, but Cooper Lagasse has played a lot more football than Fife, even though Fife, started a couple of games last year. So you could argue there's 2 backup quarterbacks here, but I do expect some offense, regardless of that. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's jump on over to Saturday's action. But before we do that, I want to tell you that the College Football Experience DFS show is brought to you by SGPN Second Chance Survivor. Look, you're already knocked out of your NFL Survivor. Let's be honest. I am. Took the Redskins against the Bears. Didn't hit. All right. Didn't hit. I'm a fool to take the Redskins in any Survivor. But look, don't worry. We got you covered with the SGPN Second Chance Survivor presented by Corey Pinkston and Barking Dog Properties. $3,000 are up for grabs. Winner take all. It starts NFL Week 7. So sign up now. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/survivor. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/survivor. We're also brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets. Win bigger by betting smarter this NFL season with Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting analytics platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Research every NFL, NBA, MLB, and soccer bet with historical stats and data. So stop betting in the dark and join over 30,000 users researching with Hall of Fame Bets to craft more intelligent, data-driven parlays. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com and use that promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month today. Start researching, start winning with Hall of Fame Bets. All right, we are back on the College Football Experience DFS show, and let's jump on over to Saturday morning slate. I think it was Saturday night was the one I didn't really care for. Saturday morning I enjoyed. How about you? Still there? I think you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I was coughing a couple minutes ago when you were doing an ad read. I didn't want to pick that up. So you got me now?
Yeah, I got you now. I thought the Saturday morning slate I had a blast with. The Saturday night slate I did not.
Yeah, I have kind of an interesting approach to the Saturday night slate, which is either going to be boom or bust. So we'll tackle that in a couple of minutes. But I do like this slate, and obviously the big question on this slate is what do you do with the Oregon-Washington game with an over/under of 67 points? But it's hard to stack in this game because the prices of these guys are really high, and that's 2 quarterbacks over 10K each. So I'm curious if you spent up on either quarterback, and if you did you stack them with any of their receivers?
I did not spend up on the quarterbacks there. I think there's some value quarterbacks out there that could have some big games. So I loaded up on some cheaper quarterbacks that are studs in my mind.
Ultimately, I agreed. Spending $10K or $10.2K on Nix or Penix Jr. was just a little too much. And then especially because if you do spend up, then it's hard to stack them with any of those top-notch receivers. So I agree. I didn't roster either one of them. Who's your top dog?
My top price quarterback from they're actually the same price, and they're playing against one another.
Interesting.
Look, I want Kansas quarterback play. Yeah. I know last week actually he did not put up a ton of points, but if you go back to one of the other starts he had, he's only had 2 starts this season. Jason Bean, Kansas Jayhawks there. I know he only threw for 91 yards last week and only rushed for 10, which was shocking to me that you would only rush for 10 yards. I don't think that'll be the case this week. But you go back to, like I said, he started the season. He threw for 276 yards, 2 scores in the season opener. I know they're in Stillwater, but Jason Bean is a 6th-year senior, I believe. So I loaded up on him at $7K.
Wow. So both your quarterbacks. And so you went him and Alan Bowman and they're both $7K.
Yes. Alan Bowman. But first off, both like 30-year-old quarterbacks here. Bowman last week at home threw for 235. All right. 235, didn't throw a touchdown. I think he's going to get some, and we know Kansas's defense not nearly as good as Kansas State's over the years. So I think he can have a better offensive output. Actually, you look at the past 2 games, he's gotten he almost threw for 300 against a good Iowa State team in Ames. I think he does it against this Kansas Jayhawk team.
I like it. I do think Bean is in a spot here for a bounce back, but I think Oklahoma State's a live dog here. So I think Bowman can have a solid game too. I didn't roster either of these guys, but I don't mind either play. They are, I'm curious as to what the rest of your roster is going to look like because you did save so much money at quarterback. And also in a slate where a lot of people are going to pay up for those big dollar quarterbacks, the rest of your roster is probably going to be a lot better than the rest of their rosters. So yeah, I like it. It's interesting. My top guy is 8.4K, and I'm looking to fade the Arkansas defense. And I got Bama's Jalen Milroe at home. And you know what? We've known what he can do with his legs for a long time. Well, last week he also threw for 321 and 3 touchdowns. Maybe he's making some strides passing the ball. I expect the Bama quarterback to put up a pretty nice game.
Yeah, he did all of that on one pass.
Maybe
no. I'm saying one pass over and over and over.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
Yeah. The vertical route was just available whenever they wanted it, and yeah, I mean Arkansas's defense is not good, so why not?
Especially, I mean, he's like almost $2,000 cheaper than the top guys.
Yeah, I like it.
My second guy is also a dual threat quarterback, and I'm gonna go Emory Jones. 7.3K. I like that Cincinnati's coming off a bye and they're in the midst of a 3-game losing streak. So they're going to come out, they need this game. And again, like he's not the most accomplished passer either, but with his legs, he provides a very safe floor. Give me a rushing touchdown and he'll have a good game.
This one, I'm not a big fan of your play because Iowa State's defense is good.
Yeah, they're pretty good, but Cincinnati's at home, and I do like the extra time coming off the bye to figure a few things out offensively.
We'll see.
Now that probably that's a pretty good side bet because I could have went Bean or Bowman here.
Yeah,
choose one, and that's our side bet.
While they're at home, I will go with Alan Bowman.
Bowman versus Jones. I'm writing it down, what makes it official.
Let's go. Bottle of bourbon on the line, folks.
I'm already up 2-0 in side bets this week, so you got some ground to make up, buddy.
I'm not sweating. All right. Running back wise, I loaded up with 3 running backs. How about you?
I have 3 as well.
My top price running back is in Seattle. Bucky Irving. So we know Washington's defense hasn't really been tested by elite. Like if anything, Boise I thought was having success on the ground. They had to ditch it because they were getting down too much.
Play the music.
Let's go. Bucky Irvin's been a solid player. He gets the ball receiving too. He always gets like 2-3 catches a game too. So,
and Oregon, other than the Texas Tech game, they've been blowing teams out. So the most carries he's had this year is 13, and he's been productive with kind of limited carries because he hasn't been needed, to hand the rock to 20 times. I think there's a game scenario here where Oregon tries to keep that Washington offense on the sidelines as much as possible, control the clock, run it more. I think in this game we could see Bucky Irving get closer to 20 rushes. I think if he does, he's going to have a very nice game. And, I kind of like the Ducks on the road here. So, yeah, I'm all over Bucky Irving. You still have to get pieces of this game, even if you don't go the quarterback route. So I think, and also 7.5K, Bo Nix was 10K. So you're talking about you're saving 2.5K if you go Irving over Nix.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so now let's tell me your. So wait, no, I'll go Devin Neal. I'm staying with the great state of Kansas. Devin Neal is just a stud. You see what he did against UCF? 12 rushes for 154 yards, 13 yards a rush.
Woo,
unbelievable. Yeah. Look, I think Kansas is going to be. This is going to be a very exciting game. And I think Kansas, I think there's gonna be a lot of points in this game. So you want to get the bell cow for the Jayhawks and Devin Neal. Did you roster Devin Neal? And if not, why did you not?
I didn't, but I rostered the bell cow in the same game on Oklahoma State. That's my guy, Ali Gordon. I was telling you about him last week. 21 for 136 and a touchdown. The week before that, 18 for 121. As soon as Oklahoma State found out that they should start Alan Bowman, that just opened up this entire offense. So I like going with running back in this game, but I'm going to go with the one at home. And I told you I kind of like Oklahoma State. I think Kansas's defense is probably worse than the Pokes. So that's why I went Gordon over Neal.
And Gordon's established himself as for sure the top bell cow. Yeah, through the first 2 weeks, he had kind of just barely gotten the ball, but the past 2 weeks he has emerged. 18 rushes for 121 against Iowa State, and then he opened it up against Kansas State, 21 for 136. So I do think you're seeing now him, established as the top guy. All right, that's a solid play. I'm actually looking to pivot off of my last running back because I realized that he was questionable. There is a situation in College Park, I find. So have you had a chance to see Caden Fegan?
Not well. Why do I know that name? Who's Caden Fegan?
He is a freshman running back from Illinois, right? Now, last week, they only rushed him 5 times, which was weird because I was high on him the week before at Purdue. He had 11 for 85, and I think he's kind of established himself as their best running back. But they went back to Reggie Love last week, and it was unsuccessful. I'm going to take a shot. This is a ballsy play here.
What's the price?
He is 4,500. But Maryland, I think Maryland's run defense is probably not as good as people think. And if he can have the last time Illinois hit the road at Purdue, I mean, Fegan was a big chunk of that offense. 11 for 85. He also had 3 receptions. So I'm loading up, taking a shot on the freshman Caden Fegan.
So when he was getting those carries, was that when Love was injured? Because they have McCray there also.
So Love last week, Love only had 7 carries last week. What happened last week? No, did anybody run the ball? McCray had how many carries? 10. Okay, so he was the top guy last week. No, he didn't play last week.
So yeah, I think he was a healthy scratch. Well, that's interesting. I don't have a good feel for this backfield. I thought Love was their guy when he's healthy, but yeah, they only ran for 21 yards. Whew, man. Interesting. Well, that's a shot in the dark here. If you saw something that flashed on screen, maybe you're onto something.
It was the Purdue game, not the Nebraska game. The Purdue game.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my third running back is also dirt cheap, 4,400. And this is Eli Sanders for Iowa State. Now,
that's who I originally had, but I saw he was questionable.
No, he's not. It's not questionable.
Interesting. I was just looking at their stats on ESPN, and I thought I saw a questionable because that was my guy.
Yeah, so I mean, Iowa State's been a committee this year too, but last week Sanders was the feature back. He's a true freshman, 16 for 99 and a touchdown versus TCU in a win. So why change what worked last week? So I expect another.
So he's not questionable.
No, I see no injury tag whatsoever on him.
All right, then I'll go back to him. Let's go.
All right, there we go. Play the music.
That was my guy originally. That's what I was saying. I'm pivoting. And I think Iowa State's live, buddy, in Patty C's Nippert Stadium.
I'm quickly checking one other spot here. No, man, I don't see any kind of injury designation whatsoever. I think we're good.
All right. Well, now I get to my wideouts. Then you're done with your
All right.
running backs.
I am. Who's your top receiver?
Well, he's only part of the best offense maybe in the nation.
Washington, huh?
Jalen Polk at 6,100. Now it's tough deciding which receiver. And since I didn't have a lot of extra money, wait, let me just make sure because I have 400 extra. No, he's the best that I could do.
Because I went Jalen McMillan at 7K.
Well, McMillan's better, but I didn't have that money.
He's probable. I'm pretty sure McMillan's going to play and be at full strength, but he is probable, so it's a little bit of a gamble.
But at the same time, I mean, come on, all these receivers get like McMillan is better, but I'm saying like Polk will probably still score a touchdown in the game. You know what I mean? Like he's still a stud.
Right.
So
I think we were thinking along the same lines where, again, if you don't roster the quarterbacks, you still want some pieces in that game. And so I like both plays. I do like McMillan over Polk, but that's why he's $900 more expensive. But I think it makes sense to get somebody on that Washington offense. Maybe even Dylan Johnson too. Dylan Johnson could have a pretty good game.
I thought about it, man. I thought about it. So my second receiver, I'm taking you to Knoxville.
Oh, I'm in that game too.
Squirrel. What does he say? Christmas vacation. Squirrel. All right. I need to get that sound drop. Look, we know Brew McCoy's injured, right? And Squirrel White is their leading receiver. And what is the weakness? Why did Jalen Milroe look like Jeff Blake last week? The A&M secondary is one of the worst in the nation. And Joe Milton is going to be able to fire this laser to Squirrel White. I think they have a clear advantage there. So at 6K, I think that's just a bargain play there. What are you doing here?
Hasn't found the end zone yet. What do I say every week?
Play Texas A&M. You'll find the end zone.
I say, a candidate for positive touchdown regression. I like the play, but a little too expensive. I was on the other side. I went with my guy, Anaya Smith, for 4.9K.
Oh, I got him too.
Oh, there you go.
That's my other wideout. My roster's done. Both teams, I expect a lot of points in this game too.
Yes, I would agree. This game is another game that's probably going to be, each team in the 30s. So it makes sense to get pieces. I like what you did have a receiver on both sides, but no, I got one more guy and he's dirt cheap. And you want the tight end for Iowa. And
they're calling for rain though.
Oh, they'll still throw some small little passes. Ever since Lachey went down, the Michigan transfer Eric All has really stepped up. Last two games, 4 for 67 and a touchdown, and 5 for 97 and a touchdown. Wasn't there a stat where no Iowa receiver called any passes last week?
Yep, 0.
So there you go. You know what that means? Roster that tight end for only 4.3K. Give me Eric All.
It's so hilarious because so many people have a problem with that. I did the VSiN spot last night, and it's like everyone's just saying, and I'm like, but they won the game. Who cares? If you win the game, who cares? But yeah, I look, I like your play. Iowa tight ends have been a long staple of good football.
There you go. Exactly. So really the difference is I went cheaper so I could afford McMillan over Polk. And so therefore I had to go with a cheaper option at receiver to counterbalance that. So anywho.
Yeah. Let's jump over to Saturday night slate because I'm about to beat the tar out of you. All right. I don't even have an ad read, so we just go right in. We
Oh,
go
perfect.
right in, buddy.
So
I got
what if
two
I told
quarterbacks.
you? What if I told you that 6 of my 8 players are in the same game? And do you want to? There's only 7 games in the slate. Do you want to take a stab at what game it is?
Oh, I know. It's the Arizona-Washington State game.
Wrong.
Okay. I figure that a lot of points are going to be happening there. Then I would assume USC Notre Dame.
Wrong.
Okay.
Wow. Miami UNC.
Wow. Okay. ACC Nick. I should have figured.
True. Now they were calling for rain Saturday, but that's gonna be in the morning. So I think by the time this kicks at 7:30 Eastern time, I think we're at clear skies. We're good to go, and I expect a lot of points in this game. So both my quarterbacks, and the other really good thing about this game is that there's cheap stackable options. It's not like Oregon Washington, which made it almost impossible to have a decent stack. So I'm not trying to compare the two games, but still, this is a game where the over-runner's at 57. There's going to be some points. So my two quarterbacks are Van Dimes, 6.2K only, dirt cheap, and then Drake May, 9.6K.
I love the Drake May play, but the Van Dimes one, man, after watching that Georgia Tech game, he threw some terrible balls. I thought it was in the rain. Maybe I'll give him a little bit of a pass, but I think he had 2 or 3 picks in that game that were pivotal. My quarterbacks, I smell a bottle of bourbon on the line here.
Okay.
I am in Pullman. Cam Ward is going to bounce back against a shaky Arizona Wildcat defense at 9,100. You pay up.
Ward versus May.
Or we have this next one.
Okay.
How much was Tyler Van Dimes?
6.2K.
Do you have any extra money?
I don't think so. Let me see here. I got nothing. Spent every dime. I spent every dime on Van Dimes.
Well, I was going to say, I thought this would be the battle here.
Who you got?
I'm going to Lubbock, where Baron Morton is showing signs of life. Started some games. He's 6,300 though. So I don't know if you want to agree to this, but
let's go. Let's do it.
All right. Van Dimes against Baron Morton. I think the UNC defense is decent. And as much as I think K-State's defensive line and linebackers are decent, they got all 4 of their secondary from a year ago went to either graduation or the NFL. So I think that's their clear weakness. And that's how Missouri was able to exploit them. And I think that's how Texas Tech will. I got Texas Tech winning this game in Lubbock. Baron Morton, 6,300. Let's go.
I do like that game, for a sneaky high scoring game. And also I don't mind the Ward play, even though I rostered him last week and he burned me throwing all those interceptions, but probably a good bounce back spot for him.
All right. Well, I only did 2 running backs. How about that?
Same here. Are we going to South Bend and the linebacker in?
You're goddamn right we are. Aldrich Estime is going to run for 7,000 100 billion. What did Joe Biden say? 100 million billion. I mean, shout out to Chad G in the chat. He's sitting over there. He's talking A&M. He's talking shit about Colorado State. I'm on board. Let's go. So
yeah. So, I mean, we all know USC's defensive struggles. And Notre Dame is going to want to run this ball, all night long. So I expect a big game from Estime.
Yeah, I mean he's a stud. And then I think you rostered this guy last week.
Oh shit, we're gonna have the same person, Taj Brooks,
back in Lubbock.
Yep, I did.
They like to throw him the ball a little bit too.
4 straight games over 100 yards. Last week he had 31 carries. I mean, Texas Tech is, we think of Texas Tech as just, pass the ball every play, but no, they're running it and they're giving it to Brooks, and he's been very effective of late.
Yeah. So we have the same running backs. Maybe we will have different wideouts.
Depends if you roster anybody in the Miami UNC game.
Nope. Stayed away from that one.
Well, then we got all different wideouts.
Stayed away from that one. So who is your top wideout?
Tez Walker. 5.9K. He came back last week, had 6 for 43. He got his feet wet. Now, prime time. This is a game where they feed him the rock and really, put him on the national stage and kind of shove it in the NCAA's faces that this guy's a hell of a player.
How much is he?
5.9.
Nope.
No,
can't do it. Can't afford him.
Okay. Wow. All your receivers are less than 5.9, huh?
No, I have one that's more, but this guy's a fucking animal, and I don't think you want to. I don't think. I really.
We're all in suspense. Who is he?
I am taking you to Pullman. All right. Where, so let me ask you something. If you're Jed Fish, I understand this is the Jaden Delora Bowl, but did you find your? Well, I'm saying he's questionable.
Yeah.
Have you seen my guy Noah Fafita playing ball?
Looks pretty good, man.
Well, you know who Noah Fafita's high school wideout was?
Who's that?
The 5-star there. How do I pronounce his name? Tetoria McMillan.
Yeah, right.
This dude against USC, 6 for 138, buddy.
Balling out.
Let me tell you, if Fafita's starting, you're going to want to. They've had this continuity back since their high school days. So, this is a big time recruit, former 5-star for Arizona. This is one you're going to have to watch, man, because he's a stud. Now, maybe you pivot if Delora gets the start, but even with that, like against Mississippi State with Delora, he had 8 for 161 against UTEP, 6 for 89, scored touchdowns in both those games. I think this game's going to have, and if Delora's starting, he's going to want to air it out against his former team.
Sure. He's a baller. I like to play.
So, that's why I couldn't, I think he's more valuable than Tez Walker. So, I don't think it's a fair comparison, but maybe some of the other ones. We'll see. Okay. Who's your second price?
My second price guy is also 5.9K. He's on Miami. Xavier Restrepo, also on my fantasy team, coming off a game 12 for 123, and he has 3 games over 100 yards this year. The only games that he didn't go over 100, it was blowouts against Miami of Ohio and Temple. So Xavier Restrepo, he's too cheap here. 5.9K. Give me a break.
Yeah, he's good, and they run the air raid. They're going to get a lot of balls out there, just kind of like the Wazoo angle. I like it. My second highest priced receiver, though, I'm staying in Pullman. This is our boy. All right. Carlos Hernandez. All right. Lincoln Victor's still out.
He might play. He's going to test it. I still think Victor is a week away from coming back, but he said he's testing his ankle. I think he had a high ankle sprain similar to Riley Leonard, who might come back this week also. But my hunch is that neither of them play this week.
But you look back at what Carlos Hernandez did, the freshman out of Los Angeles, and he struggled against UCLA, only 2 catches, but the whole offense struggled. Go back to the Oregon State game where he had 7 catches. I think they're going to get him the ball. So for a cheap 4.7K, give me Carlos Hernandez.
All right. I like it. We rostered him last week and he didn't do that great for us, but it makes sense. I guess you want to monitor what Victor does, but like I said, I don't think he's going to play. So you're probably pretty good. My next guy, only 4.2K. And there's been 3 good Miami receivers this year: Restrepo, Jacoby George, and Colby Young. Well, Jacoby George is questionable. I don't think he's going to play, which means the other 2 receivers, their stock should go up. So that's why I'm taking Colby Young, even though he has an awful first name, for 4.2K.
All right. Well, look, I'm taking you to South Bend, Indiana, where my guy, Mitchell Evans. I'm assuming you have him on the team.
I don't.
Unbelievable. You were the guy to put me on to him.
He won me a bourbon bet against you a couple weeks ago when he had that monster game against Duke, right?
Yes, he is a stud. And you're telling me in a game we know they're going to have to keep up a little bit at least. So at 22 catches, 343 yards, if you look at, I feel like he's coming on, like this is not, early in the season in the Navy game, he basically did nothing. In the NC State game, he did nothing. The past 3 games, Ohio State 7 for 75, the Duke game 6 for 134. the Louisville game, 4 for 71 and a touchdown. They are gonna try to find ways to get him the ball. That's their edge on offense. You got to roster him.
He's an animal. You'll find no argument from me. He's going to be a future NFL player. The dude has soft hands. You know, he's tough to bring down in the open field. I like the play. How much was he?
He is 5,400.
Yeah, I couldn't afford him. My last guy does play tight end. He's a tight end for UNC for an even 4K. Bryson Nesbitt coming off a game against Syracuse, 5 for 79 and a touchdown. I told you, my whole roster, 6 of my 8 guys are in this game. So hopefully Nesbitt comes through for me.
I like that angle. I like the. I'm sorry, the chat is cracking me up. Billy Tenlegger says this. Colby in a smoky poker room in the back alley somewhere.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Are you in Koreatown?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. LA's Koreatown is phenomenal. I've been up for 24 hours playing Texas Hold'em. So had to get this in. And shout out to Capwise. Ben does great work over there, and he says Coach Prime on running back Alton McCaskill, remember the former AAC Freshman of the Year.
Yeah,
you're definitely going to see him this week. He's only 3.3K on DraftKings, and
I like that.
Maybe you consider that one. And look, I have one more player left. I'm going to take you. I'm staying in that Notre Dame game because I think. I really do blame some of Notre Dame's struggles on their offensive coordinators. I think they don't utilize Chris Tyree the best way possible.
Oh, going back to Tyree. That was a bourbon bet from a couple weeks ago. Mitchell Evans versus Chris Tyree.
Yeah, I got both. And look, I think if they're going to keep up, Tyree, remember, out of Virginia, right? And if they're going to keep up, they need explosive plays. And this is their guy. Like, they should be using him more creatively, in my opinion. I know I talked to somebody Notre Dame fan. Oh, our wideouts aren't good. It's like, well, find creative ways. You got that stud tight end. You got Tyree. Tyree should be touching the ball way more, in my opinion.
What's Tyree's price?
He is 4.1K.
Tyree Price versus Colby Young. Side bet. Colby Young.
Yeah.
And even 4K.
I didn't.
No, I'm sorry. He's 4.2K.
Yeah, I didn't have any extra money, so I couldn't do that. But yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
All right. You're gonna go back to the well with Chris Tyree, huh?
Yeah, I mean, this Notre Dame offensive coordinator is a bozo. I could be doing this. Let's go. And that's our slate, folks. Appreciate everyone and the Alton McCaskill angle. Very interesting by Capwise. Pay attention to that. I might jump on that actually. The more I think about it. And look, we invite you to come play DFS with us. NC Nick will tweet out the invite from his personal account, NC__NICK. I will retweet it from the College Football Experience Twitter account at TCE on SGPN. I'm on Twitter at TheColbyD. Give us a follow, play that game, all that nonsense, Also, get the SGPN app. It's free to download in the App Store and Google Play Store. And check out all of our other work. We have preview and picks for every single game, whether it's FBS or FCS. It's all out there. And on the College Football Experience and the FCS College Football Experience. Also, the College Basketball Experience. Yes. Myself, Moneyline Mag, NC Nick's on a few. Go listen to those conference previews. We're breaking down all 31 conferences. College Basketball Experience. Subscribe. Tell a friend. Also, make sure you check out the College Baseball Experience with Noah Beanick and myself, and the Big 12 Experience with Moneyline Mag. You want to hear about his misery. All right, West Virginia losing on a Hail Mary last night. You want to check that out. Sports Gambling Podcast. I'm a part of that as well. And look, every Friday they're live from Las Vegas, Nevada. That is not Las Vegas, New Mexico, and they're on VSiN, Brent Musburger's network, live every Friday night, 9:00 Pacific, midnight Eastern. VSiN is a network, Brent Musburger's network, that you should have if you have YouTube TV in the NFL package. So. What are you doing, folks? Check us out. Also check out the Sports Gambling Podcast in general. All right. And, check out, CJ Sullivan. Bottom Line Bombs, always fun. Just dropped an episode with him talking about moneyline dogs in college football. Called it the College Football Weekend Bombs. Go listen to that. And shout out to the whole chat. Until next time, folks, this is the College Football Experience. You better start thinking about yours, and we out of here. Run and shoot.